Hello class, I welcome you to our lesson today on communication skills, BUSU 001. The facilitator is Madam Mary Muhindi. Welcome. So, because this is the first lesson of our class, we'll have what we call a course overview. It's like a course outline. What is the purpose of this course? What are some of the expected outcomes? And lastly, we will focus on definition of key terms. So we begin with the purpose of the course. So why should students be taught communication skills? Number one is to equip learners with soft skills. We all know that at the university, you're going to be equipped with two types of skills. The first one is hard skills. Hard skills basically have to do with technical knowledge that you're going to acquire in your various areas of specialization. If, for example, you are doing a bachelor in IT, information technology, then at the end of your 4-year course, you're going to be competent in information technology. So you're going to be, the hard skills are basically quantifiable in the sense that you're going to be given a certificate indicating or showing your grades. But now you find that that is not enough. Employers need to employ people who can communicate effectively. So soft skills basically are skills that have to do with somebody's personal attributes, employability skills. These are skills that employers look for when they want to employ somebody. So one of it is this unit that we call communication skill. The second purpose of the course is to develop the learners' 4 language skills. In this unit, we are going to focus on listening skills, speaking, reading, and writing. And then another purpose of the course is for the learners to be able to apply the knowledge that you have learned in this course in your various areas of specialization. So basically the unit will equip you with skills not just to survive in academic world, but also skills to survive outside the university in the global market. So these are the following expected learning outcomes that by the end of this course, the learners should improve their proficiency in both spoken and written English. And then number 2 is to develop the learner's linguistic and communicative competence. When we talk about linguistic competence, this is the knowledge that somebody has of a given language. You know the rules of the language. You are able to communicate. That is not enough because you need what we call communicative competence. Basically, this is knowing what to say to whom, where, and how. For example, we will be interacting with you, and maybe one day we meet outside the university. It will not be prudent of you to call me, "Hi, Mary," because of the kind of relationship we have. I still expect that you're going to address your lecturers by title. And then the third expected learning outcome is that learners will be equipped with skills that they are going to adapt. We are hoping that at the end of the course that the learners will adapt effective study skills. And then lastly, you know that at the university you'll do a lot of research. It is not good just to write what you know. It is good you acknowledge the sources of information that you have used in your piece of writing. And therefore we are going to focus on referencing techniques. So let us go through the whole course outline. I have called it the course overview. These are the topics we are going to cover for the entire period. So the first lesson, we are going to define key terms. We'll look at what is communication, and we'll try to see how does it differ from communication skills. And then number 2, we will look at elements of communication. You know that communication is a process, and therefore it is made up of several components. For example, the communicators. We have the sender, the receiver of the message. We also have the medium, among other elements. And then number 3, we look at models of communication. These are basically graphic representation of the concept of communication. We have models like the linear model of communication that looks at communication as a one-way process where the speaker speaks and the listener listens. So they don't interchange the roles. Of course, that model has its own weakness, and this led to another model known as the interactive model, whereby now we are looking at communication as a two-way process, whereby the speaker and the listener can keep on interchanging their roles. And then lastly, we have the transactional model. The fourth topic, I love the fourth topic. It's about principles of communication. There are certain crucial things that you should keep in mind anytime you engage in any communicative event. For example, one of the principles of communication is that communication is irreversible. Whatever you say, you cannot take back. Even if you say you are sorry, or even if you withdraw that particular utterance, the effects will still be there, among other principles. And then the next topic will be about the essentials of effective communication. These are what we call the 7 C's of communication. For communication to be clearly received and understood by the communicators, then we need to look at 7 components. The first one we'll be talking about is clarity. How should you ensure that your message is clear? By being specific, using words, of course, that are not difficult. And then the next topic in our course outline is types of communication. We are going to say that communication is classified into 3 broad categories. Number 1, according to the number of people involved. If it is one person, we'll call that intrapersonal communication. We have interpersonal communication, 2 or more. We have public communication, among other types of communication. And then one of the things we'll note that anytime you engage in communication, there must be a limitation. There must be a barrier. We'll call it noise. Even now, I'm sure, as you are listening to me, there's something that is taking place in your mind. You are thinking about something. Maybe you are reflecting about something. So communication, of course, will be interfered by what we'll be calling psychological factors or barriers of communication. And then now, we'll start looking at the 4 skills. We'll look at listening and note-taking skills, and then reading, speaking, and presentation skills. And then the next topic in the course outline will be about the writing skills. We'll look at what is academic writing. And we will say that this is a type of writing that is written by a scholar to another scholar. And therefore, you need to acknowledge the sources of information that you are using in your piece of writing. In academic writing, in this particular unit, I'll only teach you about term papers, although we have other types of academic writing. For example, we have thesis and we also have projects. And then we'll also look at essay. We'll also look at functional writing. How do we prepare our curriculum vitae? How do we write application letters? Among other types of writing that we are going to look at in this particular unit. And then the next topic is we are going to teach you, first of all, theoretically, before we go to a practical lesson on how to use the library. Why? Because that is where we are going to find the sources of information. Although we don't have really to go physically to the library, because even now we have the e-learning materials online, but we are going to look at which are these information sources that are found in the library. And then we're going to look at cataloging. How are these materials in the library arranged or organized? And then lastly, the classification system, like the Dewey Decimal Classification System, and then the Library Congress Classification System. The last topic is about communication and technology. How can we use technology, informational technology, as a tool for communication? So that is what we will cover in this particular topic. Now, let me just highlight a few definitions of key terms that are crucial, that you need to keep in mind as we go on with our lesson. So we have the following lesson objectives. Objective number 1 is that by the end of this course, you need to distinguish between communication and communication skills. Number 2, you need to explain the meaning of key terms and concepts. For example, what do you mean by context of communication? What do you mean by code, among other terms? And lastly, you should provide examples of communication skills. Now, let us look at communication terms and concepts. So we're going to define communication. What is communication? We will say that communication is a dynamic process by which meaning is exchanged between individuals or an individual and a group by means of a system. This system could be oral, verbal communication. The system could be made up of symbols. In the written form, we communicate by use of the letters of the alphabet. So we can communicate by use of symbols. We can communicate by use of what we call signs. For example, when I put my two fingers like this, there's a particular meaning that is coming to your mind. Some of you could imagine this is two. Somebody else could say it means chill. Others could also imagine it's a political party. So you'll find that the relationship between the signifier, this is the signifier, and the signified, which is the meaning, is arbitrary, in that there's no connection between this meaning chill. It is members of a given society who sit down and agree that this will mean chill. Other people will sit down and say to them it will mean too. And lastly, we also communicate by the use of demeanor. The way somebody looks, the way somebody behaves, from grooming, dress code, their behavior, you'll convey a lot of information. If somebody is dressed in a suit, then you'll find that this person will actually be respected because of his appearance. So let us look at key definition terms. So why are we saying that communication is a dynamic process? It is a dynamic process because communication will keep on changing depending on the participants, their relationship, their setting, their context, among other factors. And also it involves meaning. For any communication to be effective, then there must be mutual understanding of the message conveyed by the communicators. And then we have said it's a system of oral symbols, there could be system of signs, or even demeanor. Now, so what are communication skills? We know that a skill is ability to do something. So when we talk about communication skills, we'll say that these are a set of skills that enable somebody to communicate effectively and, of course, clearly. For example, I'm sure you have listened to some people talk and you'll want to continue listening to them because they are good public speakers. 2, somebody has written to you a letter and you feel that the letter is well written. Then that person has a good communication skills of writing. It could be chairing a meeting or even conducting negotiations. Like, for example, you have attended your marriage negotiation and you have somebody who has really negotiated for the bride price and you say, yes, that is well done. So that is a difference between communication and communication skills. So we'll also encounter communicators. Basically, these are the participants in the communication process. Could be the sender and the receiver. We have other concepts like the message, which is the information that is being conveyed. And then we have the medium of communication, which is basically the means by which a message, of course, is conveyed. Like now, I'm conveying my message by using the medium of the television. And then we have the code. Code is basically systematic arrangement of symbols that are used by communicators to create meaning. So before when you start initiating a message, you have to decide. One of the code could be the language. Which language am I going to use to convey a given message? The code could also be the choice of words or even the sentences that you are using. And then noise. Communication cannot occur if there's no interference. The noise could be physical. Those are external factors. that are occurring between the communicators. It could be somebody talking next to you. That is what we mean by noise. And then principles of communication are basically properties of communication that are essential. And then the context of communication is basically the environment in which communication is taking place. The context of communication could be psychological. What is going on in your mind as you are talking to somebody? What are your desires? What are your needs? What are your thoughts about this person? So that one can be a context of communication, among other contexts that we are going to talk about. And then elements of communication, basically, we said that communication is a process made up of several components, like the sender, the receiver, encoding, decoding, among other. So today, we have gone through the entire course outline, and we have looked at, what are some of the purpose of this particular course. And I want to emphasize on the fact that we are teaching you communication skills at the university because it is a soft skill. It is a skill that will allow you to be competitive in the workforce globally. We said soft skills basically are skills that have to do with your personal attributes, your personality as a person. So they could be confidence, that's a soft skill. Teamwork, are you able to work well with others? Other soft skills could be punctuality, among others. We have also looked at the difference between communication and communication skills. We have said that communication is a process by which meaning is exchanged. It can occur just within yourself in the mind when you are reflecting about something. It can occur when you are communicating with others. We call that interpersonal communication. We said it's that process that is dynamic in the sense that it keeps on what? Changing. And we have said we can also communicate either orally by use of symbols in the written form, and we have said that we can also communicate by use of demeanor. The way you look, the way you walk into an interview room, it really matters and it conveys a lot of information. We have also looked at other definition of terms. For example, the context of communication. We have said that the context of communication is basically the environment where communication takes place. And later on, we are going to look at 3 types of context. The first context we are going to look at is psychological context. I'm sure as you started watching this program, you had certain expectations that you had from the lecturer of communication skills. It is my hope that whatever was going on in your mind has been met. If not, I am sure we are going to interact in other forums, for example, the e-learning platform. Apart from psychological context, we also have situational context. This is the place and time where communication takes place. So, for example, we can take a place like the church, and it's around 8 a.m. What will be happening in various churches? Of course, now they are closed. But what could be happening in the church? People could be singing, God is good, all the time. See, communication will change. What will we be doing at home at around 12 p.m.? Of course, you'll be sleeping. Therefore, you'll not be communicating. Maybe you'll be dreaming. And then we have also looked at the last type of, we have also looked at another definition of term, which is basically noise. And the noise basically has to do with any interference that might, that interferes with the communication process. And we are going to look at 5 types of noise. We have what we call physiological noise. Sometimes you'll attend classes or you'll be listening to somebody, but you are unwell. That one will prevent you from listening. That is physiological, biological factors. We also have other types of noise that we have talked about. We have physical noise. You could be chatting with your lecturer online, and then all of a sudden you are running short of bundles. That one could also be a type of noise. physical. Physical noise could also be very hot places, especially those who come from very hot regions. Sometimes it is too hot, and that one will prevent you from listening. We also have other types of noise that we're going to talk about, apart from psychological, apart from physical noise. We also have what we call semantic noise. In linguistics, semantics is basically the study of meaning. And therefore, when it comes to the study of meaning, then it means meaning of a word could be denotative or it could be connotative. When you talk about denotative meaning, basically this is the exact meaning of a word in the dictionary. And then we have connotative meaning, which is basically the associations attached to that particular word. Let us pick a word like hot. If one day, for example, we are having a face-to-face classroom and I walk into class at 2 and I say, I'm feeling hot. Of course, what do I mean by that? I mean that the environment is not conducive for me. You need to open the windows. That is the denotative meaning of the word hot. But I'm sure, I remember one day when I was teaching and I told students that I'm feeling hot. They had other meanings, that maybe I'm feeling beautiful. I don't know. And then we also introduce other terms like the medium of communication, which is basically what we call the means by which a message is conveyed. Like now I am conveying my message via, of course, technology, which is television. So basically, that is what we have discussed today in our lesson today. So with those few remarks, I want to conclude my lesson there. I'm looking forward to be interacting with our next lesson. Thank you.
These televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.